call this meeting of Central Board of Facilitators Toastmasters Club 9958 to order. Thank you all for being here tonight, and please, this is the time to shut off our cell phones. I got into a couple weeks ago and it went up on me as I was speaking. For any guests, the restrooms, make a left out of any of these doors. The first opening, make another left, and go all the way to the entrance on your right-hand side. At Toastmasters, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Through this mission, each Toastmaster gains a clear understanding of the club's purpose, and the organization as a whole benefits from a shared set of values and goals. Before I proceed, may I have Mr. Mark Lockery stand up, please? Unfortunately, Jonathan Dunn is not here tonight, but we want to tell you how proud we are that they both swept the contest, and he won the humorous contest, and we killed him.
Yeah.
So, you should be sitting down because I'm going to call on you next to do the thoughted wedge.
Okay. A wise man once asked me, why would you do anything half-assed when you carry a full one behind you all day anyways? Please join me in reciting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we'll call upon Mickey D. Who's filling the role of president this evening.
I just needed a little bit of more wine to make courage. It is the first time to run the meeting. I am doing it on behalf of our president, who is having fun this week, I understand. What I like is that he doesn't have fun out of the city anymore. So he can attend our meetings and don't make me go through this. Well, welcome to Central Florida Facilitators, club number 9958. We are called the Facilitators for 3 reasons. We are sponsored by the Central Florida chapter of the American Society of Training and Development, the premier organization for professional facilitators. A good facilitator needs to be a strong communicator and an effective leader, and Toastmaster is all about communication and leadership. To facilitate means to make things easy and possible, and we want to make things easy and possible for you tonight. And I hope you for me tonight. Please keep an eye on me. I'm going to ask Steven, Toni, I'm going to ask questions like, how to proceed and what I'm supposed to do. For now, I would like to welcome our guests, and I would like them to tell us a few words about the reason they are here and how they found out about our club. I'll start with Brian.
Brian is here because Jorge made me come. No, I just he actually brought me here 2 weeks ago, and I'm strong enough to come back a second time.
Thank you. Carlos.
Good evening. Carlos came tonight because he's been thinking about Toastmasters for a little while. I did have an opportunity to attend some of the meetings several years ago, and I think that I need to polish up a little bit on public speaking and other things like that, so I figured you guys could probably help me out big time.
give a speech.
No.
It was in a different location altogether.
Tim Rick was a member in Seoul, but not on the paper.
I live down the street, so it's nice to come by. I can't always, I've been on the road a lot, but that's kind of finally settled down, so I hope I can make it more often. So, but I'm missing some faces here, Gail. Where's your president today?
He's
Birthday trip with
Washington,
Dad.
he said, make sure you're here tonight. Let's get him for that one, right? Yeah. Has Gail been?
Yeah, she's in North
taking a long
Carolina.
vacation.
Oh,
She has a
okay.
grandbaby.
I'll get
New
on her
grandbaby,
page.
Tim.
Yeah, well, that's right, the grandbaby. She
Yeah.
posts on Facebook.
Still
Yeah.
there.
Okay, I'll get her here for you.
Yeah.
Welcome
be
to
back.
our guests. Thank you for coming. Before we start the meeting, before we call the functionaries to tell us about their role.
Toastmaster.
The Toastmaster.
We call it the Toastmaster.
You're not the
Thank
Toastmaster, baby.
Yeah. I would like to talk about a few items on my pre-programmed business list. First of all, I have to start with this, to congratulate Mark for winning the humorous speech contest at the area level. We're very proud that you're not allowed to quit this club ever. And Jonathan Purwan, who was the first at the evaluation contest area level. Thank you so much. I missed the last couple of weeks, but I know that the time it is to pay the membership dues for the next 6 months. It would be October this year through March next year. So if you have your checkbook with you, please
Open.
don't forget, open it and sign it. The fee is $46?
$45.
$45. Okay, and the check is going to be to Central Florida Facilitators. Thank you.
Or to Charlie Bumblebee.
For $45, I wouldn't buy
How do you
it.
think you're okay with?
Charlie, can you send an email with your address so I can mail it to you?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Is there anything you'd like to discuss to bring to our attention before we call our Toastmasters for tonight? Any business?
I want to know why you're sweating so much.
Because it's freezing in this room. I wonder why. Okay, one spice. Our Toastmaster this evening grew up watching westerns and war movies. Two of his favorite actors growing up were Clint Eastwood and John Wayne. At the age of 17, after watching the Green Berets, he decided to join the military so he could be like the stars from the movies. He would spend the next 8 years in the Marines, solely for the fact that the Air Force recruiters were out to lunch when he went down to the recruiting station to sign up. This is a real story. Please welcome to the lectern our Toastmasters tonight, Mike Lowry.
Good evening, everybody. I am really excited about tonight's theme, but first we have a couple changes to make on the agenda. As you're aware, filling in the role of president tonight is Mickey D. The Wizard of Oz tonight is not TBD anymore, it's Toni Giddles. Stephen's speech, we're going to change that to 7 to 9 minutes. So Mickey has the timer, can you make note of that? Speech number 2 is 7 to 9 minutes. Okay, how many of you guys have heard this before? Are you guys familiar with that? It's from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, a movie that was released here in the States in December 1967, which, by the way, was a very good year for other music as well. For those of you who have not seen the movie, has anybody not seen the movie?
Really? What?
Wow, okay. For those of you who have not seen the movie, have you at least heard that little snippet that I did there.
Just about every game show.
It's a well-known theme, just as popular as Jaws is known worldwide. That theme is pretty popular as well. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was a Western genre film. However, since it was shot mainly in Spain and Germany by an Italian director named Sergio Leone, it is categorized as a spaghetti Western, a term that many in today's politically correct society might find offensive. However, since it combines two of the most favorite things in my life, spaghetti and Westerns, I will continue to use that terminology. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was the third installment in the Spaghetti Western trilogy by Sergio, following A Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More, also starring Clint Eastwood. However, they were all actually separate independent stories with separate characters. The settings were all the same, Southwest USA and Mexico during the 1800s and the Civil War era. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is by far the most successful of the three, making over $25 million, and constantly showing up in lists of the all-time best movies ever made. In fact, it is so popular, it has been referenced over 300 times in movies like Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Basterds, Back to the Future, The Punisher, and Kill Bill, in video games like Dead Red Revolver, and in television shows like Breaking Bad, The Simpsons, Married with Children, Family Guy, Grey's Anatomy, and Seinfeld. As a matter of fact, everybody here is familiar with Seinfeld, right? One of the actors in Seinfeld was actually in the Clint Eastwood movie called The Outlaw Josie Wales, which also starred Clint Eastwood. In that movie, there was a character named Abe, and Abe from Outlaw Josie Wales is actually Uncle Leo from Seinfeld. Now, the movie revolves around three main characters: Clint Eastwood, who was the good, Lee Van Cleef, who was the bad, and Eli Wallach, who was the ugly, and their quest for $200,000, which was buried in an unmarked grave. Now, the bad, whose first name in the movie was actually Tuco, his full name in the movie was Tuco Benedicto Pacifico Juan Maria Ramirez, but he is often referred to as the Rat. Now, just how bad was this person, Tuco? Well, there's a couple times in the movie when he had a noose around his neck and he was about to be hung for crimes that he was found guilty of. Here's a list, a partial list, of some of the crimes that he was found guilty of. Armed robbery of citizens, state banks, and post offices. Arson in a state prison. Cattle rustling. Counterfeiting and passing counterfeit money. Crimes against places of high authority, including burning down the courthouse and sheriff's office in Sonoma. Extortion. Highway robbery. Horse thievery. Illegal postal pickup. Receiving stolen goods. Selling stolen goods. Supplying Indians with firearms, theft of sacred objects, using marked cards and loaded dice, assaulting a justice of the peace, intention of selling fugitive slaves, bigamy, deserting his wife and children, murder, kidnapping, and this one's my favorite. He hired himself out as a guide on a wagon train, and then after receiving his payment in advance, he deserted the wagon train in the middle of the hunting grounds of the Sioux Indians. Inciting prostitution, misrepresenting himself as a Mexican general, perjury, and promoting prostitution. Now, that's a long list, and you can say, wow, this guy was really bad. He was a pretty bad mofo. However, throughout the movie, we came to know him and relate to him, and by the end of the movie, we kind of don't want him to die. He really wasn't all that ugly either. Now, you know who thinks they're ugly? Americans. Because last year, it was reported by the ASPS, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, that Americans spent over $11 billion on facelifts, Botox, breast implants, and other technically unnecessary cosmetic procedures. But that's about enough for ugly right now. Let's talk about some good things. Our functionaries, who, in direct contrast to cosmetic surgery, are technically necessary for us to have a successful meeting. So let's meet them. Tonight, let's meet first Sarah Hunt, who is our grammarian. Can you please stand up and tell us who you are?
As grammarian, I have two basic responsibilities. First is to provide a word of the day to all of you and guests in order to expand our vocabulary. So I've chosen the word of the day, and that is impede. So impede means be a hindrance or obstacle to. And using it in a sentence, by questioning every proposal, she is impeding the progress of our projects. Impede. If you have an opportunity to speak, please do your best to use the word. I will keep track of those who use the word of the day. Those who do not use the word of the day will be fined 25 cents. They're not guests, right? All right, so I will also listen for colorful imagery and use of exceptional vocabulary and grammar. And I will suggest improvements in grammar as needed. Mr. Toastmaster.
Our next functionary tonight is the timer, which is Mickey D.
I have a question about my job as the president tonight. First, Steve Block, thank you for joining the club. Congratulations, we are happy to have you here. My question is it okay if I induct him later in the meeting?
Yes,
Sure. Okay. Okay, perfect, thank you.
Timer.
Now, timers report. One of the skills Toastmasters practice is expressing a thought within a specific time. As timer, I am responsible for monitoring time for each speaker in each meeting segment. I will operate a timing signal indicating to each speaker how long he or she has been speaking. Our prepared speeches to qualify for voting, speakers must speak no less than 30 minutes under their range minimum. In our case, Jorge 5 minutes and Steven 7 minutes. And thank you. Yes, ma'am. And not more than 30 seconds over their range maximum. Jorge 7 minutes and Steven 9 minutes. I will turn on the green light. I will turn on the green light at range minimum, yellow light at mid-range, and the red light at range maximum. For table topic speaker, to qualify, speakers must speak at least 1 minute and no more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Green light 1 minute, yellow light 1.5, red light 2 minutes. For evaluations, to qualify, evaluators must speak a minimum of 1 minute and 30 seconds and a maximum of 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Mr. Toastmaster, thank you.
Now, already making her presence known this evening, our Wizard of Oz, Toni Goodest.
As I'll counter, my job is to keep track of audible crutches, such as the words as well as double clutches, which is the repetition of a word or phrase. I'll also note sentences that are strung together with bridge words like and, or so, or like. I'll sound a buzzer when I hear any of these infractions, and the only thing that will impede me from doing an effective job this evening is if the Percocet wears off and my pain level goes from 3 to 7. The fine for each infraction is 10 cents. Guests and members who have not yet done their icebreaker will not be buzzed or fined. However, I will keep track of the infractions. Thank you.
And our supervisor of elections tonight is actually going to be performed by Tim Rickey. So Tim, can you please let us know about that?
I'm not a CPA, but I do how to count. So I challenge you speakers to go ahead, make my day. I won't impede the meeting anymore.
Now that we have our functionaries out of the way, let's move on to our prepared speeches portion of the evening. This evening, we have a Toastmaster that has seen many changes in his lifetime. Some for the good, some for the worst, and some for the ugly. But as always, he keeps a positive attitude and hope that things will get better soon. He is excited to be here tonight delivering his speech titled, "The Times They Are A-Changin'." Please help me welcome the first speaker of the evening, Jorge.
As most of you know, the times they are changing. This is the title of a song written by Bob Dylan. It was written at a time of segregation and when the civil rights movements were happening. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, I will borrow the title, The Times They Are Changing, and relate it to the current situation in our country, unemployment. Or should I call it the real change? The times have changed. I've been in the workforce for 36 years. Going to school, my goal was to graduate and get a job in a large corporation. I was blessed. I completed my education and I found a job with a large, sent my resume to different companies. At the time, I mailed several resumes and took few resumes in person to the local companies. I had several responses, some of rejections, some invited me for interviews. I had an interview with very well-known companies such as General Electric, Philip Morris, and Motorola. But I got one job offer for a company that I didn't even apply for. The name of the company was Camp Dresser and McKee, CDM. It was an environmental firm specializing in water and wastewater. How did they know about me? I did my internships with them. They knew my work and they saw some potential in me. My job was D-based programmer. I didn't know anything about D-base. And I know little about programming. I had to learn fast. Through the years, I moved through the ladder, starting as a programmer, then I moved to a drafter, then I did some modeling. Not clothes or underwear modeling, air toxics modeling. Always trying to improve myself, I ended up in Florida in the instrumentation and controls group for CDM. My American dream was happening. I became a company man. At the time, that was great. I worked for CDM, my company. I treated it like my own. I used to do things that they were not even part of my job description. I did it on my own time without getting paid. But I did it with love because it was for the good of the company, my company. After 22 years of service, one Friday afternoon, I was told I no longer work for CDM. Sometime during this period, things have changed. Company men did not matter at all. The times, they are changing, like the song said. The first one now will later be last. This was the first time I was unemployed. I wasn't worried. I said, this time I have experience. I have lots of experience. I prepared a resume 7 pages long with all the projects I worked, my licenses I obtained, all the clubs I belonged to. I included Toastmasters. At this time, faxing resumes was more fashionable, faxing or emailing, which I did. I received 2 responses, one from an unknown person, one from a friend. Both of them said, this is an impressive resume. The unknown person told me I should summarize it into 2 pages. I sent the revised resume to other potential employers. Within a month, I had 2 interviews and 1 job offer from Paul Corporation. Who knew that less in your resume will give you better chances to secure a job? After 5 years working for Paul Corporation, the managers decided to relocate my group to Cortland, New York. It was a reasonable move for them. They wanted to keep all the engineers where the factory was. They didn't think about the human factor. Due to this event, Paul Corporation lost 8 good engineers. I was one of them. I was forced to find another job. It was easy. I used the same resume, sent it to one company. I had a phone interview, a lunch interview, and they offered me a job. Transition was seamless. I finished work with Paul on Friday. On Monday, I started working for AWC as a sales engineer. This time, recently, AWC went through a reorganization, and they eliminated my position. Once again, for a second time in my life, I'm unemployed. This time, I see it harder to find a job. I have many things that are against me. My experience, my knowledge, my age, and some things that they were not important before are important now. Little things like programming. The times, they are changing. From mailing or taking resumes in person to emailing or submitting your resumes on the company website. If you go to a company, try to apply, they will tell you, go and apply online. The times, they are changing. Experts believe that resumes will disappear soon, and the future will be LinkedIn. It will become the new resume source, new source for employers to find talent and employees to work jobs. The times, they are changing. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thanks, Jorge. It's been a long time since I met a fellow D-based programmer. Nikki, can we please have a minute on the clock so we can write some comments for Jorge? While we're writing our comments, I would like to let you know that the good, the bad, and the ugly is also recognized as an idiom, meaning to give thorough analysis in a given situation. I'm sure Jorge will appreciate your analysis of his speech, so give him the good, the bad, and the ugly, please. We have them done, Tim will come around and collect them. Thank you. For over 25 years, Stephen has been hypnotizing anyone and everyone willing and interested. Trained by experts in the field, Stephen enjoys conducting group sessions, performing on stage, and helping individuals one-on-one. As a certified instructor with the National Guild of Hypnotists and with the National Federation of Neuro-Linguistic Psychology, Stephen has also taught and lectured about hypnosis and NLP. In previous speeches, Stephen has presented his model of the mind and how it explains hypnotic phenomena. Today, he is here to give examples of utilizing hypnosis for specific goals. Please welcome Advanced Toastmaster Gold, Stephen Morgan, with Anything You Can Imagine.
My freshman year in college, I was living in the dorms. A few people heard about, I was interested in hypnosis and I could hypnotize people, and so I had a few people going, can you do it? Let's see what you can do with this. One of the guys on the dorm floor volunteered. I'll call him Tim, it's not his name, just to protect him. As it turned out, he was one of those people who was a very good subject right off the bat. And I could give him suggestions that he would find another person to be invisible, and then he would spend time looking around the floor for this guy who was walking right behind him, and everyone else was confused because they didn't know what we were doing. What was fascinating was his ability that he could actually hallucinate what he was seeing, what I had suggested. And I gave him the suggestion that he would see the other people on the floor as characters from Dungeons and Dragons. Fascinating, because he was poking through this backpack I didn't have on my back. What I had not told him was which characters for him to see us all as. And in his own mind, he decided he's going to see us as the characters we actually play in the campaign that we had running on the floor. My character being a bard, which is why he found a lute in my backpack. Now, we had only done a little bit of this off in a room, and the rest of the floor didn't know what was going on, so as he's walking around, we had a lot of confused looks. But what was really strange was when one of the guys stepped out of his dorm room, come walking down the hall, because we were standing in the hall at that point. And Tim is looking at him going, whoa, what's we're not sure exactly what it is he's seeing. This guy's walking by looking at him like, what's wrong with you? As he walks by and goes around the corner. This guy was the very burly, set, fit man. Deep bass voice. But the character he plays is female within our campaign. So after he's walked by, Tim turns to those of us standing there and goes, he's stacked! The imagination can do incredible things, and hypnosis is a function of the imagination, our ability to anticipate and to prepare for what may occur and can occur. But as a result, the imagination can also work against us in many ways, especially people who are always imagining awful things that could be happening. Not always very helpful if they're never actually going to happen. But throughout history, there have been many documented cases of what hypnosis can do. One of the most interesting I've always found was that of James Esdale back in the 1850s. He was actually a British surgeon and working in India at the time. When it came time to do surgery, there was nothing called anesthesia at the time. But he discovered that there was, amongst some of those people from their mystic practices, able to induce a trance, and he could perform surgery that would cause no pain, they would heal significantly faster, they would have a significantly higher survival rate. From that, he decided to report it, and back in England, they tried to reproduce it. They didn't have very much success. They did not have the culture to understand it. At about that same time, they discovered ether. So they said, forget that, we've got chemicals. But in actuality, that same process can still be done. And it is very possible with hypnosis to eliminate pain from the situation completely. And I'm sure Toni's ready to go, please. And it has been used, even in modern day, for surgeries without any anesthesia or as an aid to it. And it's very possible to simply have no pain. You can still have the sensation, therefore it's analgesia. You feel it, but it does not hurt. I've given this example in many demonstrations, but I also had a friend who had need of help in that she had a cracked tooth that was hurting her horribly and did not have the ability to pay for any work on it at the time. I said, hold on, let's do some hypnosis work for you. And was willing to talk to her subconscious to let her know this, we know, is something wrong. Pain is something that is wrong. And your mind realizes that, your brain connects that dot and says, it must hurt. You know what's wrong. If you agree to just simply not use the tooth until you are ready to get it fixed, therefore it's you on the other side, avoid putting any extra pressure onto it. As long as you do that, you do not have to feel the pain because you already know what is wrong and you're acting on it. That took 20, 15 minutes and it was gone. Completely. When Susan managed to burn her thumb by getting it stuck in hot oil on the stove, I quickly put her in a trance to give her the suggestions for that to heal. You see, burns are actually something hypnosis is superb at, and there are many studies that have been done. Even the most severe of burn cases, with the help of hypnosis, heal extremely faster than normal and off with far less scarring, if any. Often you can avoid it at all. Shortly, within a couple minutes, her pain was gone. Blister subsided. She didn't have any effects from it. despite the fact it was a pretty bad burn. My son got himself a nice good sunburn at the beach last summer, and after a day where he was just having such difficulty with it and difficulty to getting to sleep, I decided, okay, fine, we'll do hypnosis for this. And he was able to get to sleep quickly that night, had no pain the next day, and the sunburn faded very quickly. These are things hypnosis can do and has been proven to do. It's fun to think about what many other things you do. You've seen the things on TV or on stage. But that's not where its strength comes in. For people who have fears, this is the ones I love because, in fact, the worse the fear is, the imagination's engaged really strongly, the easier it is to get rid of. I've had people come to me for help for getting up into an airplane, fear of flying, and it only takes 20 minutes and a lifelong fear can be gone. Permanently. Not years of talk therapy, 20 minutes and done. People who have had agoraphobia, fear of crowds, fear of open spaces. I've helped people with those, and in all honesty, all these fears, whatever it is that's come to me, I'm afraid of this, often it has nothing to do with what they say they're afraid of. The actual occurrence and origin of it is further back, and it's something else. It's what often happens. We make connections from what our emotional states are to our physical sensory at that point in time. And when those sensory inputs are repeated, the emotional states come back with. With hypnosis, engage the emotion, you can find that origin, but you can also break it. So you can remove the anchors that create the fear, or the worry, or the anxiety, or any of the things that you may come across and discover that are triggers. You can also use it to create those triggers if you so want to. In many cases, I've given people a suggestion of when you put your thumb and forefinger together, either you choose, you can go into hypnosis yourself at that point, or sometimes it's you enter your own circle of excellence where you are at your peak performance. And I had given this to a woman who wanted to have a very strong sports performance. She was trying out for a team. I gave her that. She stepped into this, and she is, at the time, a day later when she was doing this, her mental state altered. And she gave a performance that nearly topped the charts. This is what the imagination can do. And if the imagination can do it, hypnosis can help you engage and enable it. These are the things I love to do. Now, of course, you see the stuff on TV. I wish it worked the way on TV. I'd never have gotten divorced. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. For some people who can imagine it working that way, you can have quite an interesting time. I've got great stories of having done stage shows or entertainment things, or there was one I did that was nearly X-rated. That could be a lot of fun, but not appropriate to tell. But it's fun to see where people's imaginations will go. And you get to do that here in Toastmasters. We hope to engage the imagination with the stories we tell, the speeches we give. And if you have a fear of public speaking, I can tell you what might help with that. A little bit of hypnosis. So just talk to me if you have a question. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Stephen. So Mickey, if you can give us another minute on the clock, please, for our comments, Stephen. Now, while you're writing your comments for Stephen, I want to tell you about one scene in particular in the movie that was kind of funny for me. It's towards the end when they're in the cemetery and they kick open the coffin thinking that there's $200,000 in there, and there's a skeleton in the coffin. They think that's no big deal. But actually, what I read was that was a real skeleton in the coffin that belonged to a deceased Spanish actress. And she actually wrote in her will that she wanted to continue acting even after her death. So the director put her in the movie. Also, since the director didn't speak very much English, and Eli Wallach didn't speak any Italian, they communicated with each other by speaking French during the movie.
1 minute.
Thank you, Mickey. Now, Mickey, can you please give us a timer's report for these two wonderful speeches?
required time 5 to 7 minutes. He spoke for 6 minutes and 48 seconds. He qualifies. Stephen Morgan, required time 7 to 9 minutes. He spoke for 9 minutes and 19 seconds. He qualifies. Thank you.
Both of them qualify, so please make your vote for best speaker. Write down your choice, and Tim will collect your votes. Clint Eastwood, who played the good guy in the movie, didn't actually want to make the movie. However, the director's wife flew to Los Angeles and persuaded him to make the movie by offering him an additional $250,000 and 10% of the U.S. profits that the movie made, which turned out to be a pretty good decision since that was one of the movies that launched his career. He was so cool in the movie that his character didn't even have an official name. The other characters in the movie called him Blondie, but his official name was the man with no name. Now, I don't want to impede on the next section. So our next segment is always the most anticipated part of the meeting. And of course, to drive you crazy with his oddball way in doing the table topics, please help me introduce Charlie Bombalito.
Of course, we all know the meaning of table topics. Impromptu speaking, when you're asked a question, you have 2 minutes to answer. And since I am not one to impede creative thought, tonight I advise you to put on your thinking cap. Because I'm going to ask you, Sarah Hunt, to tell us something, and you have a choice. You have 3 choices. Tell us what you consider in your lifetime your experience of the good, the bad, or the ugly that you've experienced.
I've lived in different places, and with those places comes a different climate. The ugliest is snow, dirty snow, ice, slush, and I spent 6.5 years on the snow belt, which is Lake Erie. There were some ugly times. Driving, very ugly. I had a very cheap, broken down car that did some spins off of main highways, landed in ditches, never a scrape, but absolutely heart-pounding. I had nasty spills walking to class. It was college. I'd be walking along, thinking I got my traction, and wham! I would just be splat down right on my back. Turned ankle one time, back problems, all because of nasty ice. The good part, it's not living in Florida. I am not a fan of summer. I'm heading into my best time of the year. But during the winter, I love running. And the snow, when it absolutely comes down and it is fresh, it's sparkling white, it's still outside, it's beautiful, no one is out there. And real early, I would go running for a few miles and I would have this packed down snow that hadn't been all hardened and slippery. It was safe. And it was quiet, it was early, and that was a good time. There's my experience with the good, bad, and the ugly when it comes to weather.
Toni, my buddy Toni.
Charlie.
Tell us what is the ugliest experience you've ever had. And I mean ugly.
You're gonna be disappointed. The ugliest experience I've had is the last 3 weeks of my life. Really. Actually, the 3 days that I spent in the hospital having the surgery it's a total knee replacement, was not bad. We started off on a very solid footing. Lots of pain medicine. I slept good. I slept a lot. I responded to the surgery well. I didn't have any medical problems, and of course, you know, they check your blood pressure and everything every 4 hours. So I was in good health. The ugly started when I got to the rehabilitation center, which is one of the best and most well-known in Central Florida. And for the first 3 days, the nurses withheld medication from me. And I was furious. I was absolutely furious. I screamed at the nurses. I asked to see the doctor. It didn't make a difference. I did not get my medicine in a timely manner, and that was mostly at night when I woke up in pain. Other things happened at the rehab center which are a bit mind-boggling to me because I've been in healthcare and I used to really respect the process and the healthcare system. I actually asked to be released before they were ready to release me because I couldn't take it anymore. The stress was upsetting me. I was crying. And they actually released me with no prescription for pain medicine from the doctor, no in-home health care request, and there was something else that they didn't do that I had to go home and manage, and I did. So that was the ugly, the bad. I still have pain. The good news is I'm getting treatment at home, and I'm improving, and the pain is lessening. But I have to say, it's been a terrible 3 weeks. I know, he's supposed to call me.
If you need help, you know, I'm willing to volunteer. I'm sure other people are willing to volunteer around here.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is your best experience that you would say is the goodest thing that ever happened to you?
The goodest thing?
Goodest.
I would say that's very easy for me to answer. That was 22 years of marriage to Laurel, who passed away last year. She was everything to me. She had a belief in me that I did not have, that brought me up to levels. You ever heard of making a man a king? What she did, I performed as Elvis because of her. It was her idea to dress up in the costume and do a party, and then somebody said, would you do that for a charity? And then it went on for 23 years for charity. But she did that. She made the costume. She's very creative, extremely creative. By the time she made the last one, which I have now, is a beaded one, you can't tell the difference between that one and his, and Elvis's real one. That's how good she got. Unfortunately, we were separated at the time, so she charged me $800, but it was worth it, you know. But she passed away last year, but we did have a few moments for 2 days before she passed, because she was, you know, the drugs that they give people who have cancer. And we just grasped each other's arms. She sat up in bed, and we just looked at each other and said we loved each other. Because we did. That had never diminished. It was other problems that caused our separation, but that and her was the greatest thing ever happened in my life.
Susan, tell me the greatest and the baddest and the ugliest thing about your children. You've got plenty of them.
Let's see. I only have good about my children, for the most part. I have, for those of you who do not know, I have a set of triplets that are 17 years old, and I have a 14-year-old son, and my stepson, who's like my own, is 12. So the teenage years have been pretty okay. They've been rather good. I'm very surprised. But we have a few of those things where, Mom, do I really have to talk to you on the phone tonight? Nothing happened. What do you mean, nothing happened? What did you do at school today? I just went to school. Oh, what did you do in your class? I had homework. It's like, okay, you don't have to talk to me tonight. So that's one of the bad things, like if that can be bad. Ugly, when they were tiny, tiny little babies. And I had 4 of them in diapers at the same time.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was ugly. That was really ugly. But we got through that, and now everything is good. And I love each and every one of those little babies. And even when they're grown up, they'll still be my little babies. Mr. Toni.
I know you can tell us. Oh, you're, okay. Who else is available? Steve, tell us something that was good, bad, and ugly.
Well, I'll start out with the ugly. Not to impede my discussion. Yesterday, I had a trip to a dentist. I had a bridge that was put in my tooth. It was by a good dentist. Most dentists, in my experience, have been very bad dentists. They've been out to make a fortune at my expense, at the expense of my pain and suffering. I've never trusted dentists before. I had one dentist who wanted to remove a baby tooth, perfectly good tooth. He shook the x-ray so that I thought it needed to be removed. And I did, so I took it to another dentist. She decided to take some x-rays, and she told me, it's a perfectly good tooth. I'm not going to remove it. So that was my first experience. Another experience was down here. I went to a dentist because I needed to have a cavity resealed. And they wanted to do all sorts of surgery. They wanted to do a root canal, they wanted to extract teeth. I went to an honest dentist up in New York several months later, and he said, oh, I'll just reseal it. Well, unfortunately, recently, including yesterday, the bridge that I had for 20 years, the good bridge, went bad. So I needed to have it replaced. So I went to a local dentist, and she said, I'll give you a new bridge. She didn't tell me she was going to be cutting down 2 perfectly good teeth, about 80% of the material. She told me that it was all rotted or decayed, which I don't believe, but even if it was decayed, she could have told me ahead of time, so I would have known to search around and do my research. But instead, she cut it down. So now I have a really ugly mouth and a temporary bridge, and hopefully the permanent bridge will be good. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Brian, would you like to give it a shot?
Depends on the question.
That's the point. Tell me something good, bad, or ugly.
I can use hypnosis for the
The good.
The light.
Okay. The best thing that happened in my life, I can say, well, my wife and I just celebrated our 24th wedding anniversary on Monday. And that is probably the best event in my life. So that was not the 24, all 24 years have been the best years of my life, not just Monday night. That was just a steak. That was just steak and I don't even know, steak. So anyways, the second best thing in my life have been the 2 children that we've had. One is a senior at University of Florida, and the second a senior at DeLand High School. So those 2 things have been beautiful. The ugly, I'm not going to tell you yet. Let's see, what's the ugly? The bad? Well, we've moved a lot. We've moved 14 times in 10 years. In the first 10 years of our marriage, and I wasn't in the military. It was always chasing the dollar. And of course, when I decided not to chase the dollar anymore, then it was, my wife said, let's move to Florida and be closer to my in-laws. So of course we did that, and now we've been here 14 years in the next 10 years, so that's good. And we probably won't move again. What else is ugly?
That's very good.
That's also good. The bad. My in-law, or my parents are up in Wisconsin, so we don't get to see them, and I miss them very much. And of course, now my mother and my dad passed away a year ago, so I mean, I did get to see him a couple times, but I mean, he was ill with cancer, and so that was hard. And now my mom is somewhat going downhill with Alzheimer's, so I mean, it's difficult to talk to her, and of course, she just doesn't understand. But other than that, I've had a beautiful life. It's a beautiful time, and everything's good.
Carlos,
Oh, no.
you don't want to give it a shot? Okay. I just thought you were running that way. That's why I thought I saw your name. You don't have to. That, my friends, concludes. You want to give it a shot?
Yes.
Why
Oh,
not?
excellent. Well, then tell us.
Same question?
Yes, sir.
Oh, boy. Okay. So, what's the order? Good, ugly, and bad, or good, bad, and ugly?
Whichever way you want to give it.
Okay, all right. So I'll start with ugly. I'm a little bit into politics, and what I see out there, it doesn't look really good. It looks rather ugly right now in this country. So that's something that's in my perspective right now. Good, family, children, life, opportunities. I have had a chance to work at Florida Hospital in the parent company for a little bit more than 25 years, doing a variety of different things with computers and helping patients and the clinicians that take care of them get things more electronically. So that's always been a good thing as well. And something bad. Well, I got into real estate investments and had a few houses right before this whole bubble thing began to bubble up. And with unemployment and other things like that, many of my tenants became unemployed, and all of a sudden I'm carrying a bunch of mortgages that I'm having to pay for myself. And it took me a little while to get rid of the properties. I lost a lot of money, and I still have one left that's hanging somewhere in Lakeland, which is a terrible place. Don't ever buy anything there. So that would be, yeah, the bad part right there. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to bring up our presidente of the day.
Evaluations?
Toastmaster. Yeah, we need it.
I'm sorry. Sit, please. May I bring
Want to go home
the
early?
Toastmaster? Sorry.
Thanks, Charlie. Mickey, can we get a timers report for all of the table topic speakers tonight, please?
Sarah spoke about an ugly time dealing with snow. I totally agree with you. 1 minute and 34 seconds, she qualifies. Toni about her ugliest experience of her life. 2 minutes and 21 seconds, she qualifies. Tim Great about his best life experience, 1 minute and 16 seconds, he qualifies. Susan talked to us about her children, 1 minute and 31, she qualifies. Steve Block talked to us about his ugly dentist experiences. 2 minutes and 3 seconds, he qualifies. Brian, best experience since his life, marriage and children. I didn't want to hear the rest. 2 minutes, he qualifies. Carlos, 1 minute and 37 seconds, he qualifies. They all qualify.
Please vote for best table topic speaker this time. 2 more last things on the movie, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. There's a scene in the movie where the bridge gets blown up. They actually had to shoot that scene twice because they put so much explosives on the bridge the first time, it broke all the camera equipment.
That's really expensive.
Also, being a low-budget movie, the sound wasn't shot live for the movie, so everything was dubbed later on. And all of the actors spoke their own languages in the movie. The only actors that spoke English were the main three. Tonight's evaluations, I'm told, are all going to be in English. So let's move on to the prepared evaluations. Susan was dragged to Toastmasters by her husband, Stephen, and is very glad he introduced her to this wonderful group. Toastmasters has helped her in so many ways, and she is glad to give back by providing her personal opinion on if the meeting was good, bad, or ugly, and what, if anything, could be improved upon. Time flies when you're having fun, and it's hard to believe that Susan has been a Toastmaster for almost 9 years now. She is happy to use her experience to help evaluate the meeting tonight. Please help me welcome our general evaluator for this evening, distinguished Toastmaster Susan Morgan.
Good evening, everyone. The job of the general evaluator is, first off, to introduce our evaluators for the evening, who will be evaluating our prepared speeches. The second thing is I'll call on our functionaries this evening to find out how well we did, or if at all any of them impeded the process. And the third thing is to evaluate the meeting as a whole and give you ideas on what we've done really well and what we can improve upon. My first evaluator this evening will be evaluating the speech of Jorge. Please help me welcome our wonderful evaluator this evening, Linda Earls.
I really enjoyed your speech. Toastmasters, especially Jorge, it was so close, a little too close, I could relate, and it was kind of scary. I enjoyed it though. You had an excellent delivery and gave us a lot of information, and I really liked the way you did the repeating of the title. That was effective throughout. One time you used an allusion to it, saying, recall, I think you said, like the song says, and then said it, but that repeating throughout was very effective, I thought. I noticed that one of the strengths, I wish I was more clued in on the information you were giving, so that was definitely a strength, and everybody should definitely take note. If they are cruising along with 25 years at the same company, or definitely tune in, because it can make a big difference if you are in that situation. Not to be blindsided by that one. And one suggestion I had to give more precise directions, possibly in the usual list of 3, that kind of thing. Your top recommendations on what you should do to promote your situation. You seem to have a very good experience, so I'm sure you have some pointers for everyone. I say for the opening, the song and what the song means and more about the song was really helpful. I wasn't familiar with it. And a little more oomph would have grabbed our attention. You had a conversational kind of format throughout. Your structure was more talking one-on-one. But I think if you were really talking one-on-one to us, you probably would have had a lot more emotion. You would have been tapping us on the shoulder and talking like that. So to have it in a more educational speech, you would have to emphasize certain points more to get the points that you wanted to get across to us in our little brains that are kind of soothed by your conversational tone. And you did not have any jargon. You used D-base, but that I think everybody can recall that. You used some excellent phrases, company man, human factor. I really like that. And you did an overview of your jobs. And in your closing, saying the song, again, was effective. Could have been a little stronger. Several uses of humor. I hope I'm not going to run out of time because I have all the good things I wanted to say about it. I really liked how you used humor several times. It was a, maybe only for me, uncomfortable, slightly uncomfortable feeling speech, and you used the humor and made us all feel good, you know, not a closed model, stuff like that. Closing, not a closed model. And I enjoyed the physical gestures you used, pointing up. You didn't point at us, pointed up, and you used your hands a lot. Need a little bit more vocal variety, but all in all, with no jargon, your phrases and everything that you used to get your points across, it was educational, and I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
I'm busy writing.
Thank you.
I was a bad general evaluator today and didn't get introductions from our speakers this evening. So I get to introduce them however I wish, which is always very nice because our next evaluator is a very good friend of mine whom I love, and she will be giving an evaluation of the other person that I love very much. Please help me welcome Pat Stogner.
Fellow Toastmasters, especially Stephen, what a great subject, what our imagination can think of. As always, Stephen, you did a great job. The intro was great. The opening, to me, was a little maybe weak because I don't remember what it was. That's probably just me, but just in case, you might check that. What I loved about it was that you had so much information, almost a little bit too much, but you had this wonderful information, and my questions were just, I could have more questions than probably everybody put in here together. I often wonder, too, how many people really believe in the hypnotism that you're talking about, other than calling it hocus pocus. I personally can relate to some of the things that you said. So that made me want, from your speech, a little bit more information about, say, like you said, somebody was going to go have surgery and you could hypnotize them and they would feel the movement but not the pain. It's like, how does that work? Does the person have to be willing? That's what I've always heard, that you have to be willing in order to get hypnotized. Whether this is true or not, I don't know. So this speech has definitely created lots of questions. You were talking very quick, very, very fast, and Stephen, I had to really pay attention because I knew I was going to have to pay really attention to find something that I would want to improve upon, and that would be it. You spoke so quickly, you had so many examples that it just flew by, but it was good. I wanted it to last longer. So the only thing I would say is that the speech was great, your ending was great. Call me if you have any questions. Just maybe slow down a little bit and expand a little bit on how this hypnotism actually works.
At this time, I would like to get a timer's report to find out how we did on our time this evening.
First of all, I'd like to say that Linda gave the best evaluation so far. What?
Which one?
I loved her evaluation.
You're influencing the votes, Ricky.
She didn't qualify, that's the one. 3 minutes and 45 seconds, she didn't qualify. Back 2 minutes, she qualified. Thank you.
And our other functionaries this evening, I think I will start with our grammarian, Ms. Sarah. How did we do with our grammar?
Well, the Steve. If I missed people, doesn't seem very many, so I might not call everyone. I noted a few colorful phrases and comments to review those. Toni screamed at the nurses to talk about how much she was in pain, don't blame her. Susan, when they're grown up, they still will be my little babies. Stephen analgesia, is that correct? Is that I'm saying that right? And put her in a trance. I thought I was at a Disney movie about a prince and a princess. That was very colorful. Charlie, the goodest thing that ever happened. That's the best. Tim, go ahead, make my day. Pat, hocus pocus. Says it all. Linda, I wish I was clued in and a little more oomph. Brian, chase the dollar. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
That's awesome. And our Wizard of Oz this evening, Ms. Toni. How did we do with our ahs and ums?
Overall, quite excellent. If you do not hear your name, it's because I did not hear any errors in your speaking. And to let you know, my hand was slower than my brain, so it often did not work properly. Mark, 2, 1 double clutch, 1, I don't know if it was a like and or so, but for the amount of speaking that you did, really outstanding. Mickey, 1 ah. Sarah, 1 ah, and it was when you were reading about the grammarian's role. A stumble. Jorge, 1 double clutch. There were 3 other times where it wasn't a double clutch, but you changed direction. You started a sentence and then you went somewhere else. I thought I would point that out. Stephen Morgan, 2 so's at the beginning of a sentence and 2 buts, which we don't normally keep track of the buts, but I'm hearing a lot of buts tonight. What's with the buts?
They're right on the horse. As long as there was a comma just before, we're okay.
Probably has something to do with the half-assed joke at the beginning of the
Could have been. They seemed unnecessary to me, so just for your information. Susan, 2 so's, 1 and for a total of 3. Linda, 3 ahs, 1 double clutch, 3 and, so overall 7. Brian and Carlos, you actually did pretty well for the impromptu speaking, but there were ahs and ums, which occurred in the same places for both of you, when you were stopping to think, what do I say next? And that's usually when it happens, for me particularly, but for a lot of us, because it's an unplanned speech. So your brain may not be working as fast as your mouth is talking, so you fill in. So Brian, for you, there were 8. Carlos, in your intro, there were 4 ahs and ums. See, I did it too. 1 so, and that was when you were talking about something familiar to you. Now, during your table topics, there were 11. It was grasping for words and filling in the silent periods while you were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But great job, that's what we're here to support you, because you probably don't hear that you're saying it yourself. Madam General
Thank you all for your wonderful reports. It was really nice to hear how in-depth you guys all went. I would like to also go through the meeting as a whole. We started, see, here I go. We started on time thanks to Charlie. He always gets us right here on time. Love that a lot. Mickey, you did a great job being Jonathan, and I'm sure that after I'm finished, you'll be Jonathan even better. So our table topics were really good. I enjoyed the different questions you had. I know you wanted to kind of shake it up a bit and do it a little bit different, but I still think that the best way to do it is to say the question and then call on the person. So you might want to think about that for the next time. Let's see, what did I say? Oh, and I would have liked a better explanation of what table topics was at the beginning, especially considering we had a couple of guests. That might have been a little bit better, but all in all, wonderful questions, wonderful answers. We had a fun time, I think, doing that. Linda, your evaluation was well done. I loved that you did what I'm calling a double sandwich method, where you went in and you said some really good things, you gave a couple of suggestions, said a couple of good things, gave a couple good suggestions, and then gave some good things. I thought that was really well done when you want to say more and you want to be able to, it is a speech of a sort, you want to be able to put the speech in the right order, and I think that was really well done. And Pat, you're so cute. You get up here and you tell us exactly what we want to know about, and telling us I know it's difficult always to evaluate Stephen because he's an excellent speaker, but you were able to give him some advice on what he might be able to work on next. So that was wonderful. I think we're doing really great on time. Yes, we are. And I think that it is now time for me to call Mickey back to the lectern. Thank you.
At the beginning of the meeting, I forgot to mention two important things. One was the induction of our new member. That's why I asked later if it's possible to do it now. And I wanted to thank Toni Hitters for attending the meeting so soon after her surgery. This is impressive, and thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank my chauffeur. Driving Miss Toni over there. Way to go.
Now, I don't know if I forgot because I had already had some wine because I didn't have enough wine at the moment. Stephen, can hypnosis help someone become smarter? Because I'm willing to pay a lot.
Define smarter.
Confidence.
We'll talk about it. Sorry. Before we move to induct Steve Block tonight, I would like you to vote for the most improved member. Sometimes we vote at the very beginning when we vote for the best speaker, and we use the and other times we vote at the very end. So I just want to make sure that we all vote tonight for the most improved Toastmaster.
Oh, before the pain. Before surgery, I call you next time.
Of course, you didn't know that was going to happen.
I knew. Everybody told me.
Oh, that's right. You did. I'm sorry.
Steve, would you like to come in?
What's he going to do?
We did, yeah, we voted it. Well, you want?
Has he been voted in? That has
No.
to happen first.
No?
I gotta get him out. Come with me, young
Take him
man.
I was gonna vote no.
I don't know this part.
Yes, you do. First, the membership has to vote him into the club or not. And then, when we vote him in to the club, then you do the induction.
Okay, so what am I supposed to say now?
You don't actually. I move to accept the
Yeah, there you go.
application for membership.
Second.
So
And you call for the vote, or any debate, discussion.
Second.
Discussion.
So you're-
You're not a member.
Sorry, can't do that.
Did you get
No
that?
discussion.
You need to-
Are all the members in favor of having Steve Block as a new member of our club.
Yes.
Any objections? Thank you.
All right.
I'm sorry.
We tried.
It was close, but you made it.
Very close.
There's a lot of negotiation here. I'm supposed to read it.
Recount. Okay.
As our Vice President of Membership is not here tonight, I am going to take his place. And it is the first time to do this, so I may, mess up.
Yes, girls, come on. Deep breath.
Membership in Toastmasters is a privilege. And the only way to gain the benefits of our program is to actively participate. Do you, Steve Block, promise to be active member of this club, to attend meetings regularly, and prepare fully for all your duties? Do you also promise to fulfill the other points of the Toastmasters promise?
I do.
Thank you. Do you, the members of Central Florida Facilitators, promise to support Steve Block as he works the Toastmasters program?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
It is my pleasure to declare you installed as a member of the Central Florida Facilitators Club. Thank you. Welcome.
I'm not here next week. Breaking one promise already.
Well done, Mickey.
Do we have
It's right there. Yeah, it's there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I put it underneath.
Oh,
Right there. Sorry.
thank you.
Maybe before you do that, can I say something?
Sure,
I
please.
just want to remind everyone that you all know now that she said at the beginning of the meeting that we need to get the dues in. Please don't make me turn ugly. Don't make me go like this in the middle of the night. You got the money for Toastmasters? So bring your checks next week.
So you want us to make your day, huh?
And before we recognize our winners tonight, I would like to get the schedule for next week and see what volunteers we have. Of course, this time I didn't forget to circulate it because I'm supposed to deal with it, not Jonathan. Oh,
Mickey, how many speakers do you have there?
one, we
I
know.
think Sean's going to speak for her icebreaker.
We have a Toastmaster, Alan Lafier. Next week is going to be his last meeting with us because he accepted a job that is in conflict with our meetings. And he would very much like to be the Toastmaster next week. We have two speakers then, Linda and Michonne. We need a table topic masters, table topics master. Anyone?
I think there was another list last week that almost.
I am so lost. I don't know what happened.
If you don't, if there's no one, I can do it.
Okay.
I know there was a list filled with all the roles.
I got
Maybe.
it for this week, but I don't know.
Maybe Jonathan has it.
General Evaluator.
Jonathan will do general value.
Miss me, you're going in trouble.
Evaluators, we have Charlie and Pat. Timer Mark. Our counter, myself. Susan vote counter, we need a grammarian. Anyone? You don't want me to be the grammarian, I promise. I'm working on my grammar.
We need a very peppy ah counter since I'm going to be speaking. Peppy.
Just get her the
Ready
one.
to-
I don't know what peppy means, but I'd like Stephen to be
Quick on the draw.
Stephen Morgan, would you like to be the grammarian?
Okay.
Yay. So we are all set for next week, almost. And now, I would like to give away.
Yes.
Oh, yes, sorry. Our guests. We would like to know how you liked our meeting tonight. Carlos.
Thank you. I like that you were very organized, that you started on time, that you were welcoming, and looks like you're having a lot of fun while doing it, so.
Thank you.
All right.
I concur with what he said.
Brian.
No, it's good. It's fun.
Thank you. Hey, Ricky, I'd like to know if you're going to bring the check next time.
Are you going to serve wine?
Yes, we will.
Great, what's your wine idea?
It's a
Actually, we started the club in Lake Mary at the Cork and Owl. And all of a sudden, they come in here one Monday night, and there's like 4 people. What's going on? What happened to all the members? And they said, well, it's kind of diminished. So we sat and talked for an hour, and Anthony, who owns that, who is the owner of that store, said, maybe we ought to serve wine after the meeting. And I'll tell you what, membership zoomed right back. So this is a good idea. I would really think about joining us. I'm not a Toastmaster for the last couple months because I've been on the road, but I really would like to join us a couple because I think I can provide some things that would be helpful to the club. And you know, I've known a lot of you people for many years. I think I drafted you a long time ago.
Oh, did you?
So, and I know how it changes lives. So perhaps, we'll see. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it is my pleasure and honor to give the Tim Chastain Award to Toni Gitters for being
Dancing with the Stars next week.
It started last night. It started Monday.
Did it? Oh.
I know, that's my goal.
Best Speaker Award. Thank you. Stephen Morgan.
You can pay me later, Steve.
Best Table Topics Award. Sarah Hunt. Best Evaluator. Mystery. Who's going to be? Best Partner. And most improved, Jorge Elias. Now, what else am I supposed to say?
Adjourn.
Adjourn? Do you have any other announcements? Yes.
I would like, everybody else where Pernaris is, like down the corner. Tomorrow night at 6:30, I have a meeting about eating organically at a company I'm involved with that. I've lost 12 pounds in the last 11 days, and it's been years since I've been in a plant that works that well. And we're giving away a $50 gift card for everybody that attends. So if you'd like to come down and find out what it means to eat organically, by the way, that's really cool because you don't really get hungry. You have to eat organically. Surprise to me. So if you'd like to come down and see it. It's really fun.
Just to remind you, I've got the bank, so those of you that owe me money, please.
Does anyone else need my address so you can send a check?
Thanks.
Okay.
How much is it, Joe?
You're trying to get out of sending an email. Send it to the club sharply, you're gonna end up calling all the.
That will be a reminder. So I don't have to knock on your door.
Because he will show up at your door.
Well, he better.
Any other announcements? Meeting adjourned.